What up guys, and welcome to vlog number 3 here. We are in Danang, Vietnam. And in this video today, I really want to get into why exactly I decided to start traveling and kind of doing the whole digital nomad thing. I also want to catch you guys up on Singapore and how Vietnam has been going so far, and just some of the different things that I've been learning along this journey over like the past 2 months here. So yeah, I want to give you guys some shots. We're going to be walking just around some of the streets here, and then we'll probably head over to the beach, and I'll show you guys the beach. What's really cool with Danang, and I'll get into it a little bit more, is it's like this kind of modernish, kind of not modernish city right on the beach, and you have like this super long strip of sand and ocean, and right like in contrast with these big skyscrapers that are right on the beach. So it's actually a really cool vibe here. And I'm surprised with how much I'm liking Vietnam so far. But yeah, before I get too carried away, let's talk about Singapore, which was supposed to be the last video vlog walking around in Singapore, but we ended up getting too caught up because we were only there for a few days and didn't have that much time to do everything that we needed to do, as well as, you know, see some of our other holders. But yeah, Singapore is absolutely awesome, guys. It's probably the best run country that I've ever been to in my entire life. Everything just works there. It's super efficient. People are really nice, very respectful. There's a lot of random rules and laws there, like you can't have chewing gum and things like that. But for the most part, it's just this really beautiful and well put together city where you just feel like everything was like perfectly planned out and designed. We were only there for a few days, and I'll put some B footage shot over this. But while we were there, we actually met up with 10 or 11 jelly cube holders. We got dinner together. It was super nice meeting everyone and getting to know everyone. We even went out to this cool club called the Marquee, and the Marquee is inside the Marina Bay Hotel, which is that hotel everyone knows with the massive boat on it. And so it was cool. Like, we actually started off the day, we went to this whole entire boat hotel thing, walked around. There's casinos in there, there's shops in there, there's food courts in there, a bunch of really cool stuff. And you can actually pay to go to the observation deck where you can see views of the port, and you can see views of the garden that they have right outside the hotel. And it was honestly a surreal moment, because you see this is probably one of the most recognizable hotels in the world. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I'm actually on top of this boat hotel right now that I see in all these pictures and videos. Is pretty cool, because I wasn't really planning on going to Singapore on this trip. But yeah, so we went to the top of that, had a popcorn up there, just looked around, took some pictures. And then right after that, actually, we walked through the Magic Garden, which is right outside of that hotel. And they have these really cool like tree-like structured buildings that you can actually go to the top of. And when you go to the top of them, you can have like a coffee, and you can have like durian ice cream and all of this other stuff like that. But yeah, we ended up getting a coffee up there, me and Cloud, who's one of our holders, and then just like walked around the area a little bit more. And then later that night is when we got the dinner. We actually went to a couple of different bars after that with all of our holders, where we had some drinks and played different games. Like, there was even like 8-person foosball, which I had never seen before. And it was just like a really cool experience. And then that's when, after that, we went to the Marquee as the final place, which is this crazy club, has a slide in there, has a Ferris wheel in there. Just overall super cool experience. And I'm really glad that we took the time to go to Singapore and check all this out, as well as having the opportunity to meet all these different holders. And I think that's one of the coolest parts about owning an NFT project right now, is that we have holders and people from all over the world in our Discord that we've been able to meet up with in these different places. And they've been able to give us so much information about where to go, what to see, where to stay, what to do. You know, and it's just honestly been a huge help. And it's also been fun because, you know, Asia is just so far away from the US. Without really going on this trip, I would have, you know, probably never seen most of the different holders that we've been seeing. But yeah, overall, the Singapore trip was pretty quick. Really enjoyed going there. And then we ended up now in Danang. We've been here 5 or 6 days, and we've mostly just been working the whole entire time, because one of the things we realized was traveling at the pace that we've been going and going from here to there and only staying a week in this location or whatever the case is just way too fast paced. And it makes it hard to have as much of a work balance as we need to have. We were still making it work and getting the things done that we need to get done, but it was just it was just too fast paced. So now we plan on staying in Danang for at least 1 month. We were able to book a hotel for the entire month for only about $450. So it's super cheap here, which is a breath of fresh air because Singapore was not cheap. And yeah, we're gonna stay in Danang at least a month. Then after a month, we have to border hop. We might go to like Angkor Wat in Cambodia for, you know, just a weekend trip to see the temple there and then come back. And we'll either go to Danang another month or we'll go up to like Hoi An or something like that and check out that area. Because a lot of people we've been talking to have said that we need to go to the northern side and see like all the different forests and the hills and the rice and all this stuff. So we might do it. But in all honesty, I'm honestly like a little sick of massive crazy cities where you can't even walk around without like almost getting run over. And supposedly Hoi An is just like a crazy city, kind of like Bangkok that we were just at. So I don't know. We'll think about it. It's like a mix between us wanting to stay in a spot that we like and really being able to focus and get stuff done and enjoy the environment and enjoy the culture and meet people and make friends versus seeing more stuff and changing our environment more. I don't necessarily want to miss out on seeing a lot of Vietnam just staying in one little bubble. But at the same time, it's nice being in a bubble for at least periods of time. All right, I decided to do this second part on the beach, and I just want to show you guys before I get into like why we started doing this. This is kind of the beach area of Danang. Absolutely sick. So you see the mountains over there, and that statue that hopefully you can see in this camera is actually like the Lady Buddha statue. We haven't gone over there yet, but it like glows up at night and it's super cool. But yeah, you have these pretty nice skyscraper hotel like buildings right on the beach, and the beach just goes on and on and on for miles. And what's really nice is you have these different tents set up where you can actually get different drinks, massages. They have like sand volleyball courts there. And one of the things that I really like about Danang is that there is a massive community of people here that actually go out and do shit. I feel like in the US, we're not really used to that. Like a lot of people, when they get home from work, they might go on Netflix or play video games or something like that. Here it's like everyone goes into the community. They get tea and coffee, and they'll have some drinks, or they'll go get a massage, or they'll, you know, play volleyball, or they'll go on a walk, or they'll ride their bike, or they'll dance, or they'll go surfing like these guys are. So it's honestly kind of insane just how much of a community there is here. And it's probably one of the things that I really missed. And it's a lot more like family orientated here as well. Whereas I feel like Thailand was just kind of this crazy party place where you just have like a bunch of degens getting drunk and getting messed up, and it's a nice change of pace, we'll put it that way. But yeah, why did I decide to start doing this? Because this is pretty crazy. And just to give you guys a little background, I'm sure you guys know by now if you've watched like the other two vlog series, I'm 25 and basically I work completely online running this NFT project called Jelly Cubes. And when I first launched the project, I actually thought that I was going to be living and staying in Portugal because I'm part Portuguese. They have way better rules and regulations there when it comes to launching projects. Everything was kind of in a gray area, like launching an NFT project in the US. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to send it and I'm going to move to Portugal. And this was crazy. This was about 2 years ago now. And basically, within a 2-week, 3-week time period, I sold everything I had, and I was like, screw it, I'm gonna sell everything. I'm gonna go balls deep into this project, Jelly Cubes. And whether it fails or whether it works, I'm gonna try my absolute best, and I'm gonna literally uproot everything and go to Portugal. And my mom was actually born in Portugal, so I qualified for dual citizenship. And I wasn't even thinking, I was like, yeah, you know, I've got 3 months, 90 days with a US passport. Like, there's no way that this dual citizenship is gonna take more than 3 months. Unfortunately, for those that know the story, it didn't work out that way. Everything is super backed up in Portugal. It's like citizenship thing. It takes like 10 years to get anything done there. But regardless, at this point in time, I literally sold everything that I owned. I sold my car, I sold all my clothes, I put everything into a suitcase, and I said bye to my friends and family and said, I'm going to Portugal, I'm gonna make this project work. So this is some pretty degen shit, honestly. And it was something that I was very uncomfortable with, because even though I thought the project would be successful, you never know. And now I'm here just uprooting my whole life to go do something, to like take a risk, to take a chance, to just like send it. And I need to tell this story in more detail another time, because the amount of shit that goes wrong and the story behind it is not only inspiring, but it's actually hilarious. So I'm gonna have to do that maybe in the next vlog episode. But yeah, so now I'm here in Portugal. I have no idea how to speak the language. Some people speak English, so that part's fine. My computer gets electrocuted because I was staying at my grandparents' house, and it's super old and they didn't have their voltage set up properly. I'm having internet issues. My suitcase gets lost with all my stuff in it. I mean, like I said, this is gonna have to be another video. But regardless, the visa thing was not working out. There was no way I was gonna get this in time. And then all of a sudden, I had to come back to the US and be like, well, crap. Like, what am I gonna do now? So I was staying with one of my friends for a decent amount of time, stayed with my parents for a little bit, and I still had this urge to travel the world and really see stuff and explore. And I think the big thing is, and if you're younger and you're listening to this too, like myself, we only have a limited time window to really travel and to really see the world, especially when you're young and you can actually enjoy it more. Like I see a lot of older people here and they might struggle like getting around as much. But a lot of times what happens is in life, we all of a sudden lose our freedom to these different obligations and responsibilities that we end up having. So for example, you get a 9-to-5 job and now you only have 2 weeks off a year. Or now you have a kid and now you can't travel because you have a kid. Or now all of a sudden you have all these bills with your rent and you're locked into some lease agreement, or you're locked into some sort of house. Or you have some sort of car payment and now all of a sudden you're stuck paying that off and you can't just easily leave. Or maybe you have a girlfriend or a wife or a husband, whatever the case is, and now your freedoms of what you're actually able to do get restricted. So there's a very limited time in your life, a limited window of opportunity for you to really see it and travel and experience the world. And I think that if you're gonna be doing anything outside of growing yourself and growing your brand and growing your business or growing who you are as an individual, like in a business and a career standpoint, the only thing that I think is an acceptable thing to kind of add into that equation is traveling. Because you're just going to learn so much more about the world, understand different perspectives, understand different cultures, meet people, network, and really figure out who you are as an individual and what you value and what you care about. And so many people live in this small bubble of their life where like most people may never move to somewhere more than 25 miles away from them. And because of this bubble of comfortability, a lot of times it doesn't promote the level of growth that you can have when you go outside of that bubble and you really explore what this world has to offer and you really start to understand different cultures. And with that, your mind opens up to new perspectives, new possibilities, new ways of doing things, new connections, new networks, and there's just so much value in that. So yeah, kind of what my situation was, is I came back from Portugal, was grinding on the project, and I just started feeling increasingly more dissatisfied staying in this small, comfortable bubble that I've grown up in. And I kind of realized, like, man, I'm in the perfect situation to work online and travel the world. 25 years old, I work completely online. I already sold all my stuff. I had no lease agreement. I had no girlfriend. My friend Thomas, who works with me on this project, Jelly Cubes, was also in a very similar situation where he could come with. He does a lot of videography, a lot of editing, stuff like that, as well as different marketing and just like a bunch of stuff for the Jelly Cubes project. So I'm like, oh my gosh, we can literally go to Asia, we can live cheaper than we were in the US. We can have a direct line of communication together. We can see and experience the world. We're gonna be able to make more content on different things like we're doing now, where we're showcasing different parts of the world, and that might actually bring new people in to the community or to understand what we're doing or be interested in what we're doing. And then at the same time in the US, if you're only in the US for 35 days of the year, you get a $120,000 income tax write-off. So I'm like, holy crap, dude, I'm running the numbers. I'm like, we can literally travel the world, learn and experience things at the best age possible, and at the same time save money while doing it and meet a lot of awesome people. And because of the Jelly Cubes project, we're able to have connections and resources everywhere we go, so we're not alone and they can help direct us on where to go and what to do. And I looked at myself, I'm like, man, you know, I'm really comfortable sitting in my room here with my L-shaped desk and 2 monitors with a $2,000 gaming computer and a really nice chair, and this is super, super comfortable. But if I'm ever going to do something like this, I need to do it now, because I'll never be in a situation where it'll be easier than now. It's only going to get harder for me. As I continue my life, there's only gonna be more responsibilities that come into my life. There's only gonna be more restrictions, more things that take my time, more responsibilities. And if I don't do this right now, then I will never do something like this. And next thing you know, my window of opportunity for doing it is going to be gone. And I was like, you know what? This 35 days in the US thing, let's freaking do it. We'll travel for 11 months. We'll go to all these different really cool Asian countries. We'll meet a lot of people and experience a lot of stuff. And I'm gonna save money from doing it. And I'm just not gonna go to the US all the way until December, and we're gonna leave in January. And that's what we did. We left January 4th. We've now been to Thailand, we've been to Singapore, now we're in Vietnam. We plan on going to Taiwan, China, Hong Kong. We also plan on going to Japan and South Korea. And yeah, that's kind of where we are now. And it's been an incredible experience. So now I want to get into some of the stuff that I've been learning so far along this journey, because one of the big reasons that I wanted to do this too was just the learning process and the growth process of being able to be in a different environment than your little cubby hole that you're used to. And this is like strictly off the dome. I'm sure I'm gonna be forgetting a lot of things that I would have loved to add in these different lessons. And maybe I'll bring these different lessons up as time goes on. But the first thing that I've learned is that growth always comes from uncomfortability and things that push you. If you think about it, like if you work out, the only way that you gain muscle is if you're pushing your muscles to the point where they're like, shit, man, maybe I need to get bigger in order to handle these different stimulus or these different things that are coming my way. Or let's say you're doing a job and you have no struggle because you've been doing it for 10 years. You are now no longer in a position where you are learning because it's just easy, it's comfortable. And a lot of times I think like the human body or the human brain just strives to keep being comfortable. It's almost like this homeostasis that is built into our biology where it's like, hey, I'm comfortable, I'm feeling good, I'm not gonna change anything up. So what's interesting is when you decide to go to a completely different country in a completely different world, you're putting yourself into an uncomfortable situation where you might not know the language. You might not know anyone where you're going. You might not know where to stay or what to do or how to walk across the street. Because here they don't even stop at crosswalks and run red lights, which is absolutely ridiculous. And just like as a side conversation here, like you walk on the crosswalk here, they don't stop for you, and they actually honk at you for walking on the crosswalk. It's freaking crazy. It was just like a side thing that I had to tell. But yeah, it's one of those situations though, where now you have all this different stimulus and it's pushing you to go outside of your comfort zone. It's pushing you to meet new people. It's pushing you to do things that you're not used to doing. And with that, there's always going to be a learning process that you're not going to get inside your bedroom where I was spending 14, 15 hours a day just on my computer in a small room, not really experiencing these different things. So number one, I think the biggest lesson that I've learned with traveling is whenever you're feeling super comfortable, one of the best things that you can do is simply change your environment and change things up. And you might not be able to go across the world to Asia or the US or wherever you're from, but sometimes it's even something like taking a week to go to the mountains and just getting out of the environment you're in and having a reset, or just doing something you're uncomfortable with, like salsa classes or dancing or cooking or whatever the case is. Just push yourself to do something uncomfortable. The second thing that I've learned is that in the places that we live and we grow up, we think that there is like now all of a sudden a right way of doing something. But really that thing is just what's been programmed and what we're used to. And one of the things that's cool is when you're going to these different countries, you start to see how things are done differently, whether it's that crosswalk example that I just said, or how they do food, or how they do service. Like one of the things that I realized when I was in Thailand, for example, everyone working at the restaurant is working as a team. They're all one unit. They all want the restaurant to succeed. They're all very grateful for the fact that you went into their restaurant and you spent money in their restaurant. And it's funny, if you're from America listening, you're probably laughing, because if you go into a restaurant in America, sometimes they're like, why are you here? Now I have to work. And it's just so funny, the different mindset here of how hardworking people are in Asia in general, and just how much more of a team-like mentality there is here. And it kind of sucks. Like, I wish it was like that more in the US. There are pros and cons in the US when it comes to individuality. In the US, it's all about being an individual and anything is possible and you can chase your dreams and it's up to you to make it and you can push yourself, and if you work hard, you'll achieve what you want to achieve. And it doesn't matter what the collective is doing, it just matters what you're doing. And it's more of a self-centered mentality, but there's aspects of it that I like. Whereas in Asia, from what I've realized, it's a lot more collective. It's a lot more, hey, let's work as a team, let's work as a unit, let's get these things done together. But on the flip side, the negative with that, in my opinion, is now people aren't striving to be not normal. It seems like everyone is trying to be normal. Everyone is trying to fit into some sort of category, wear the same things, do the same things, fit into this box. Whereas in the US, it's very unlike that. There's a lot less of a focus on fitting into some sort of box and feeling normal, and there's pros and cons to both of this. So this is just like one example of what I've noticed. It's like there's so many things that are done differently here based on how people act, based on the culture, stuff like that, and there's different things that you can take away from that. And some of them are going to be positive in your perspective, and some of them are going to be negative in your perspective. But it's cool getting that perspective, and I think it just opens up your mind. Like, for my business, like Jelly Cubes, I want there to be a feeling of collectivism and everyone being a part of something and everyone working towards a common goal. I love that aspect. And at the same time, people need to be accountable of themselves and really push themselves to be different and excel in whatever they're trying to do, and not feel limited or pressured by the society or by the community to act or behave in a certain way. So yeah, that's another big thing that I've kind of peeped while I was here. The next thing that I've really seen, or one of the things that I've learned, is just how valuable networking is and having conversations with random people. I think it's one of those things where if you're used to being in the same area, you tend to almost kind of shell up a little bit and you don't have those conversations. Like, let's say I go to a Chipotle or something. Most of the time I'm not turning around and talking to the person but in front of me who's also getting a burrito bowl, But it's funny, like when you put yourself into a different environment and other people are in those environments as well, there's something that opens people up more to have conversations and you get to know them. I've probably met a good 30, 40 people while being in Asia already, and each of these people are almost like encyclopedias of information. Everyone has been living different lives, different perspectives, different stimulus, different experiences. And these different experiences of their environment has now cultivated them into the person they are today, what their beliefs are, what their values are, what they care about. Like, it's very, very interesting. So it's one of those situations where now all of a sudden I can meet a random person in a bar in Vietnam at 12 o'clock at night, and he can be telling me all of this stuff from his perspective of what he's learned in life. And one of the big things I always ask people is like, hey, what is something that you wish you knew at my age? What is something that you have learned through your life? And you're not always going to 100% agree with them. They're not always going to have the right answer, but they can give you different answers and perspectives that help cultivate your own thoughts, and you can kind of pick different things in it. And for example, this guy that I was talking to the other night, who's also into crypto, and I met another dude into crypto at a Korean barbecue place, which was crazy. But regardless, it's one of those things. He said, you know, Jason, I'm not a half empty or half full glass kind of guy. You know, they always say, oh, do you look at the glass half full or half empty? He's like, I'm always a glass full guy because I woke up and I'm grateful to even be breathing and I'm alive. And I was like, wow, man, that actually is gonna stick with me, because I think a lot of times in life, we'll have things happen and we'll be like, oh, this is a positive, or oh no, this is a negative, or oh no, what happened is a bad thing, right? Like, well, like even on this trip, shit will happen and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened, this sucks. But then it actually ends up working for our benefit. It's just we weren't able to see that. So whenever something happens, it's really up to your perception of how you deem it a positive and negative. And it's impossible to actually deem something as a positive or negative so soon or when it first happens, because you don't know the butterfly effect of what's going to come out of that. So it's just really interesting, like that really stuck with me. It's like, dude, I'm a glass full guy. I live every day and I'm grateful to even be alive and to be able to experience these different things and to be able to have these different conversations. And there's something about traveling and meeting new people and having these conversations and starting that dialogue that just helps you learn so much more. And I hate, and maybe it's a me thing, but I hate that when I'm back at home or I'm back in the US, I don't do this as much. So one of the things I learned is screw it. Like if I'm in line at Chipotle, I'm gonna start a conversation with the guy behind me, because you never know who that person is going to be. We had a member, Stormy, who I worked out with and met up with in Phuket. You know what's really crazy? He was at the gym. He started spotting some guy on bench press. He started talking to him. That guy ended up being into crypto. That dude bought a jelly cube. That guy, from his jelly cube, he spent $1,200, and his very first play, he made $6,000. So it's just crazy. That one conversation from one of our members, just helping spot someone at the gym, ended up making him buy a jelly cube and now part of the community. And this guy is literally in Vietnam, which is where we're at right now, giving us alpha of what we should do and where we should go. So it's just one of those situations, you never know where a relationship is going to go, and you need to open as many doors as possible, because you never know which door is going to open up a world of opportunity or a world of growth. The only failure is not trying, and the only rejection is not asking. Like if you think about it, like people will get so scared of rejection, and it's like, dude, the rejection is you never even asking in the first place. Who gives a shit if someone says no to something or blah, 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 blah? The rejection is you not even trying to ask. So it's just crazy. And I could go down a whole rabbit hole of even more stuff I've learned about that. And, you know, just like putting myself out there more and being more open-minded and not caring as much about stupid shit that doesn't matter. But yeah, this video is gonna get too long if I go into too much detail. I guess and then kind of as like the final lesson that I wanna say here that I've really learned and experienced is the world is incredibly beautiful, and we get so stressed out and so anxious about stupid shit. And it honestly drives me crazy. Oh, what am I wearing today? Or what am I eating today? Or, oh, this person said this about me. Or, oh, this isn't going exactly how I wanted to. It's like crazy. Like take a step back and realize all the stuff that you're caring about and you're anxious about and stressed about, and just realize how short this life is and how beautiful the freaking world is. And then we're worrying about stupid shit that in a week or in 2 days or 3 days isn't even gonna matter. And I'm not saying life isn't going to be stressful, but if it's going to be stressful, at least make it meaningful stress. At least stress about things that matter. Stress about furthering yourself and setting higher goals for yourself. Stress about being more disciplined, being more committed. Stress about being a better husband. Stress about making more money and saving more money so you can invest that and put that into your future. Stress about setting a goal for yourself that you want to accomplish that's going to have a meaningful difference on other people's lives, rather than stressing about stupid shit like what people care about you or what shirt you're wearing or, oh, why is Jason's shirt wrinkled, right? So yeah, that's pretty much another big lesson. I had already been adopting that sort of mentality for a while, but now seeing all of this beautiful stuff in nature and just how big the world is and how small my life is, it really just puts things into perspective. Like at the end of the day, I love making this content and furthering myself, but I am just one small little insignificant guy in this massive world with all these beautiful things and people and life to experience. And the amount of stress that I'm putting on myself or what other people are putting on themselves is just crazy when you really put into perspective how small we are. And yeah, I think a lot of times people struggle with, oh, I want to feel like I matter, and I want to feel like I'm valued, and I want to feel like I'm making a difference. I want to feel like I'm important. Guys, you can do that, in my personal opinion, you can do that in your everyday life and just strive to find value and importance in what you're doing. But let's be honest, in the grander scheme of things, if you're saying, hey, I'm very important and I matter a lot, you're now just putting more pressure on yourself when in reality, we're all just insignificant in the grander picture. We can have a lifelong impact and an external impact like what Elon Musk and other big names are doing. But look at Charles Munger or whatever, one of the best investors and Warren Buffett's best friend. Or look at the Queen of England. They were very relevant when they were alive, but then they die and 2 weeks later, no one's even thinking about them anymore. The world moves on. Stop stressing to this absolutely insane level. Set your goals, but anxiety is never going to push you to do better. It's just going to cause procrastination, and that's not going to push you forward. So yeah, I think I'm going to stop there for today because I don't want this to be a super long video. And one thing that I want to stress is I'm 25, guys, and I'm still figuring shit out. So just like I said earlier with that one dude who is like the glass full guy, I take perspectives of what he's saying and I see what points he's making and how I can apply that to my life and what I agree and disagree with. Because in all honesty, I know with the amount that I've been learning and experiencing in the past year, I know that in 25 years, I might have a completely different perspective on what I just said today. So what I'm saying isn't right, it isn't wrong, it's just the perspective that I'm having at my age with what I'm doing, and hopefully to some of the people listening, this perspective or this information or this viewpoint can help them decide on some things. And the final note that I want to say is if you're someone that's been on the sidelines, not knowing if they should travel or not, feeling a little uncomfortable, not wanting to say bye to their friends or family, not knowing where to start, stressing out about shit, just send it. You can always go backwards. You can always get that job. You can always apply to a new job. You can always take a more safe route, blah, 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 blah. You're not always gonna have the opportunity to just send it and try something. One of the things that really convinced me to do this trip was that worst case scenario, what happens, guys? Worst case scenario, I don't like it, I can't balance my life and work, ends up being too expensive, ends up being something I don't like, maybe I don't like Asia, whatever, I come back on a flight, like let's get real, you know? And it's funny, just as another thing that maybe I'll make another video on and people in Jelly Cubes know, or very briefly know, you know, we tried doing this whole entire crafting customization thing with these things called gelatins. And it's funny because I was stressing so much about this. I was like, oh man, are people gonna like this? You know, I was just stressing so much about it. It's crazy, I can't even explain how much stress and anxiety I was having over something so stupid. And literally the worst case scenario happened where everyone hated the idea and everyone didn't like the art. And then guess what? I'm still here. 2-3 days later, I got over it. Did it suck taking that L? Yes. But did I grow from it? Did I learn from it? Yes. Do I view it as a failure? No, because I learned something from it and I got that growth from it and I got that experience from it. Failure would have been me never trying to push the boundaries or never trying to do new things. And now through that experience, I learned something. But the big thing that I learned from that is like, dude, even the worst case scenario, think of the worst case scenario of asking that girl on a date or starting a YouTube channel or starting a business or these different things. A lot of times you'll just be able to overcome that. And yes, I know some people are in different situations. Maybe you're hesitant to start a business because you have a family to take care of and you have different responsibilities. And that's why I think it's very important, if you're young right now, to just send it. If you're young right now and you don't have those different responsibilities and you don't have those different things that are holding you back, now's the time to do it. Now's the time to travel. Now's the time to start the business. Now's the time to take the risk. Because as you get older, you now start having different things in your life that restrict you from doing what you want to do. And that's why it's so important to grasp the opportunity and recognize how scarce and how limited the time frame is for you to be able to do these different things. And if you're in an older position, you just got to change your game plan sometimes, and you've got to be a little less risky, in my opinion, but you can still make it happen. And a lot of times the worst case scenario is something that you can overcome. But yeah, guys, that wraps up today's video. I'm gonna try to make another one next week. We haven't explored Danang at all yet. So I'll try to get like some quick little videos and stuff so you guys can see some of this area. And yeah, I hope you guys got some value out of this. I know this was a huge rant, but yeah, just send it. If you're thinking about it, send it. And I'll catch y'all later.